Little Hubble.
I wish those were less expensive.
Me too.
I feel like they're a little too expensive for the Lumen output.
I did get that thing that Lori found, that $100 off the, or I don't know who found it, the $100 off the Nanoleaf.
Oh, sweet.
Oh, that was Mike. Oh, I wanted that so bad, but like coming on the edge, right on the edge of getting the HomePod, I was like, I can't do both right now. I've got to hold out. Oh, what a great deal that was.
Unless you sell Craig. Don't consider it.
Make him do it.
No, I said unless you sell Craig, but don't do it.
Yeah, don't sell Craig.
No, I won't sell.
You can auction Craig.
Yeah, always leasing. Leasing is how you make the real money.
That's true. All the money is in properties.
I could get some good money off of him because he's a really nice person, and a lot of our friends like him a lot. So I can just lease him out to people.
See, that's what I need to do with Shane, because like every time I visit home, everyone's like, "Is Shane coming? Is Shane coming?" And it's like, "What about me? Do you not care about me?" Like, no. We just wish Shane was here. Yeah, I am ready when you all are. Lori, I'm worried. It seems like you might be developing a lag again.
No, it just looks okay to me. Are you okay, Lori? Oh, maybe not.
I'm talking right now. Somebody say something as soon as you hear me.
Yeah, it took some time.
Or Lori, you can start talking, and I'll put up, like, if you count to 5, I'll put up fingers as you're counting.
I'm talking right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
How was that?
7, 8. I froze. Hold on.
Maybe if you go just audio, if she just does voice for this one, it would.
That could be it. So are you there? Do you hear me?
We do hear you.
Okay, so that whatever that thing was, it showed back up.
What's it called?
Now I don't know because I just quit it. So if I keep activity monitor open,
yeah, you're like better again. I wonder what it is that's eating up your data.
Whatever it is, it keeps reopening too.
How do it?
Renee, do you want to do the intro since you're here?
Go for it.
All right, I will open up my little notes here. And actually, I know we're going to be talking about, I'm not doing a very good accent, HomePod, but is there anything else that we are planning on discussing?
How to fix my broken computer. No, I don't have anything else.
Okay. All right. So it will be a HomePod show. All right, here we go. Everybody make sure you're recording and that it's set to the right microphone. And let me know when you are recording and we will begin.
1 second.
I'm recording.
Alrighty.
And I'm recording too.
Excellent. Here we go. It is January 25, 2018. I'm Micah Sargent, and right now we are going to have a full show about Apple's new HomePod, because this is the iMore show. Joining me this week is the ever-elusive Renee Ritchie. Hey, welcome back.
I'm not elusive, Micah. I'm just trying to podcast every day, and it's hard. I was so dumb.
Podcast every day, write every day, video shoot every day, like everything every day.
Yeah, I'm starting a video channel. I'm so nervous, Mike. I'm going to be asking you lots of advice.
I can't. I'm really blown away by the things you're taking on. It seems like a behemoth challenge, but yeah, we'll be there helping support you.
I'll put the link in the show notes so that people can find it if they actually are interested in watching me crash and burn on video.
No, it'll be great. It'll be great. And of course, we are joined by Lori Gill. How you doing, Lori?
What's up?
Are you ready and prepared to buy your HomePod?
Well, I am prepared to be awake at midnight my time. Sorry for everybody on the East Coast.
It's 2 a.m. for me, 3 a.m. for Easterners. That's oof.
Yep. But I mean, is that when it's going to go? I mean, by the time everyone's listening to this, we'll know for sure what time the pre-order went live. We're just making assumptions here that it's going to be live at midnight, but I don't know. Maybe it won't go live until 10 a.m. tomorrow.
Yeah, that's another potential thing. Do you remember, Renee? When did AirPods go live for pre-order?
Oh God, I don't know, because I was one of those malcontents who had them since they announced them, so I didn't really pay attention.
I was one of those people who had them.
I know, hate me. No, but it's true. But I mean, Apple usually does it around midnight, and when I mean around midnight, is like they press. I think Angela Ahrens has this giant red lever or button that they just push on, and then it goes live. But it's a CDN, a content delivery network, so it goes node by node. And I know that for the iPhone orders, Serenity was like, got mine. And I'm like, my store is still not up. My store is. And then people on the Twitter are like, got mine. Like, my store is still not up. There'll be none left. And then finally it came up and I managed to order one.
So the pre-order experience is terrifying. With AirPods, I was one of those semi-malcontents who was able to get them on day one, because I don't know, I saw somebody post, hey, the pre-order's live, and I went in and I ordered a pair, and then like moments later everyone was going, there aren't any more, and it wouldn't even, like, it didn't they didn't come back for forever. And I think that people may be concerned about that with the HomePod. I'm curious to hear your two takes on this. An article that I think it just published yesterday that I wrote was about whether people should get more than one HomePod. I think I called it an AirPod a second ago, but more than one HomePod.
Definitely have more than one AirPod because they come in the package.
You do need two of those, but you can't.
Why don't HomePods come in a 2-pack?
Oh God, can you imagine how big that chiclet dispenser would be?
Oh gosh. So the interesting thing is, like, at the get-go, I've sort of warned people off from getting multiple unless there are particular considerations, like if you have somebody in your house that listens to completely different music than you, and like a child or something like that who has one in their own room and then you have yours. Those sort of ideas make sense. And if you're super worried that they're going to be like AirPods and be out for forever, and you want to make sure that you have two when Apple eventually does ship all of the functionality, then that's maybe another reason. But for the most part, Renee, not all the functionality is going to be there at the get-go. And you talked a bit about this and sort of the decision behind making sure that, things work how they're supposed to. Otherwise, you'll be upset.
Yeah, I think like the most important thing to realize is that this is not an Amazon Alexa device. This is not a Google Home. It was never built to be that. They started this project before those were actual things. And the idea is Apple was just saying, we have these customers, they have iPhones. We're going to have this Apple Music service. And if people want to listen to music on the go, we're making AirPods. And that's great because it's a super cool, futuristic way to take your Apple Music with you everywhere. And yeah, we'll add some additional functionality around that. And then the rest of the conversation was, but what do they do at home? What do they do in the office? What if they just want to have a speaker that can play, like that, that is super easy to set up the same way that AirPods are, and can play music in the room instead of just in your ears? And like technically AirPods are near field, like Siri is near field. The whole thing is near field. It's right on you. And this is far field. And they're like, well, this is what we have to do. And you don't want people to have to get up and go walk over and tap a button. And you don't want people to have to pull out their iPhone all the time just to, control music or do basic things. So the decision was made to use Siri as the control for it, the same way sort of Siri is built in to Apple TV. It's just a super convenient way of controlling it. So it's an Apple speaker that happens to have Siri as the control. And since it has Siri, you might as well let Siri do other things anyway, because the most popular things that people do with any voice-controlled assistant, according to numerous studies, is set timers and play music. That's it. We're not very complicated people. So they built this up, and that's really what this is. So if you're thinking, should I get an Alexa instead of like an Echo instead of this? Should I get a Google Home instead of this? That's the wrong thing. Like if you're looking for an assistant, those things are doing that functionality. If you're looking for an amazing speaker that is super easy to set up, that you happen to be able to control by Siri, then this is going to be for you. And yeah, it is limited at start. It was originally supposed to have AirPlay 2, which is a way of doing multi-room AirPlay, and that's just not ready yet. It comes into the betas, it goes from the betas, and that will eventually allow you to have AirPods in different rooms and have multiple AirPods in the room. The AirPod does this fancy thing, computational audio, the way the iPhone 7 does computational photography, and it basically bounces sound off the room in a 3D space to put it at precise locations. And if you get two of those, it just has a better 3D environment. And if your room is bigger, you can add 3 or 4 of them and really fill that room out. But that mic is coming soon.
So, Lori, are you planning on trying to sop up the entire output of Apple's HomePods whenever you buy them, or is one going to be enough for you at the get-go?
I am 70 to 80% sure I'm getting two.
Oh, wow.
Part of the reason is that I really like the there. Okay. Part of the reason that I want to get two is that I like music. I like sound. I like it to be big and full. And though I don't know exactly what the HomePod is going to sound like, a part of me thinks it's never going to be as big and as clear as I want it to be singular. But if I have two of them, that's definitely going to be a win. So I do wish that I could listen for. Oh, I feel like it's worth it to just get it and then, deal with it later, because I think it's going to be great to have two. I plan on using it as a replacement for a sound bar for my television set. Right now, I literally just use the sound that's coming out of the TV.
Yes.
So if I have two of those, I just feel like, watching Star Wars is going to be incredible. So I'm pretty sure I'm getting two, but I still like some of the arguments that you make, Micah, make a lot of sense, which is that, like, for example, my living room is not very big. I know based on the technology information that we have about HomePod, one is going to make my room filled with sound. So it's not like if I put it in the corner, it's only going to be loud in the corner. If I'm over here, it won't be as loud. That's not going to happen. But I don't know.
So is it Star Wars or is it death metal? Like, are we going to see all these internet videos of Lori just like down, 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 down?
Probably.
Okay. Fair.
I mean, so the thing that you mentioned there, that is the sound bar. That is one of the main things for me that I'm most excited about. The TVs that I have, I exclusively watch content through Apple TV. I don't have any other thing hooked up to them and don't care to. I get all the entertainment that I need from Apple TV. So using the HomePod with its glorious sound quality is going to be so great, because right now, yeah, it's just the speakers that are built into the television, and the speakers that are built into the television aren't great. And in fact, on the smaller television that I have, the speakers are starting to go out. And so this is like perfect timing for that. I'm still just sticking with one at the get-go, because I don't know exactly how it's going to sound and whether it's, something that absolutely is for me. But luckily, there are return windows on these things. And if it ends up not being something that you are super into, or if you decide you just need one and not two, then one could always go back.
And right now, you won't be able to use, I don't think you'll be able to use two with an Apple TV because it's an AirPlay endpoint. You'd have to pick just one of them. Yeah. For now, until it has the multi-room functionality. And I hope Apple makes some magic into it. Like, I hope, because it just feels like it's so good to put those two together that they should make like a special Apple TV thingamajig for it. I don't know what that is, but just dingus power.
I agree, because like I'm a little disappointed a tiny bit that at this, I don't know, stage in the game, AirPods are still sort of treated as a third-party product almost. Like, there's no special magic with Apple TV and AirPods. Like, it's Bluetooth connection, and that's because that's the way that it works. But with iPhone, it's a little bit easier to make those connections. Whereas with Apple TV, it's not as cool. So yeah, I'd love to see the dingus power happen for the HomePod, because the two seem like a match made in heaven, and it's because of the HomePod? Yes, my HomePod. It is because of the HomePod that the Apple TVs are now, in the Home app, and we're seeing all of those sort of things being linked together and used. So I'm just excited about the potential going forward. And just today, and I think we're going to talk about iOS 11.3 in a moment, but just today I was playing a podcast across the entire span of my house because I was playing it on my Apple TV in my master bedroom and on my Apple TV in the living room at the same time. And so the whole house and my poor dogs are like, what is going on? Like, can you just not? But there were people speaking at this. I mean, there's no delay or anything like that, no lag. It was really cool. So add a HomePod to the mix and suddenly my dogs will leave town because they don't want to hear podcasts across the whole house.
No, it's so like the important question though is what color are you guys getting? Because it's in white and space gray. There's no storage. There's no bigger or smaller. There's no mini or plus. There's no like 32 gigabyte or 64 gigabyte. It's just white or space gray.
I'm space gray all the way.
Really?
Ideal Micah would have white. Like in my heart, I want white, but space gray is less like I just have this vision of like friends coming to visit or family members coming to visit, and we just like ate a big bowl of mac and cheese, and then they're like, what is this thing? And then the fabric gets coated in yellow cheese, and it's like, no, everything is ruined. So I'm going with space gray because it's less likely to sort of show any
also
macaroni and cheese figures.
It will match the inevitable, can I get to it, MacBook iMac Pros.
Nice, that's true.
Yeah.
All those gadgets.
Yeah, in my household, I have more black gadgets than I do white or
You're
light
more
colored
Vader
gadgets.
than Stormtrooper?
I truly am more Vader than.
Well, and I
Stormtrooper.
think too, most of my sort of decor would match better with the darker rather than the white. It would definitely stand out and be this. It almost look out of place, I think. And so the space gray makes more sense for me. What about you, Renee? When it comes to Canada, which one do you think you'll be going with? The rose gold version that you're gonna special order?
Oh God, it's not in rose gold. It's not in gold. It's not in product red yet. It's not in whatever that.
I need you to come forth with some magic there.
Yeah, no, but I kind of like the whole product red vibe, you know, because it goes anyway. I won't distract us, but it goes to good. But yeah, I think I was gonna say space gray. I mean, I have a lot of these silly. Hold on, I gotta pick this up. The silly hue things, which are all white all over the place, so it would kind of match.
Oh, that's true.
That. But I think with space gray, you can never go wrong.
There is something to consider. I could knit a cute mesh cover to go over the top of the HomePod. So like maybe color doesn't matter because maybe you could make your own adorable covers that would
Lori, before you keep talking, just go register homepodcozy.com. Just do it right now.
Oh my God, do it, Lori. Do it. There are 10 viewers that are trying to beat you right now. Of course, your internet lagging just a little bit. There could be, they could beat you to it. But so that's interesting because I have, let's see if we can see it here, a Google Home. Oh, I didn't say hey Google, I said a Google, that has a customizable base at the bottom. And I do like that it can be changed. And so it would be cool now that Lori's come up with this. I mean, as long as you get something that's got like a nice loose knit, then it shouldn't obstruct the sound or anything like that on the inside.
Cashmere, of course, my mind. It's the only way we roll.
So Renee, this is one thing that stood out to me in general was going with a fabric covering as opposed to like, I don't know, aluminum or like a grid aluminum or something like that. Did they give any sort of, when they were talking about it, was there any reasoning that they said this is exactly why we chose fabric as opposed to any other material?
My understanding is that the acoustical department ruled the roost when it came to this stuff. And like I mean, of course, it's all Johnny's pick. Like if Johnny wanted to be made out of a clown and candy, that's what it would have been. But I think
leather.
Yeah, I mean, I think if they got the sound and weight and everything else that they wanted out of aluminum, they would have done that. But this was the material that they thought suited the product the best.
All right. Yeah. Cool.
But now I'm also worried about Cheetos. So thank you.
Yeah. See, like small children or adults that act like small children. Like maybe I should just keep. I'll keep a pair of like a box of a big old box from Amazon of rubber gloves next to it, and it's just like if you
Apple invent force field technology at the same time they invented computational audio.
I mean, acoustic force field technology.
Oh yeah,
it
back
just
away
like
from the HomePod. Zap.
Yeah, even if it's just like as you get closer to it.
Ooga, ooga. Stand back, human.
It's got those microphones in it. It's gonna be able to, like, if it can sense the walls and stuff, it should be able to sense people.
Yes.
That's probably gonna come out in HomePod OS.
Does anyone want to bet how long it takes Trinity Caldwell to get a marker set and make hers look like R2D2?
Okay, see, that's I like that idea. The one thing that concerns me there is like that's a permanent thing, and if you mess it up, it's done.
We're talking about Trinity Caldwell though. That's why I didn't think like a normal person.
That's true. That's true. Because like with AirPods, I think it's been a million years ago, but I wrote up an article about like customizing them, and I was like, I am not doing anything that like permanently harms these. It was all with vinyl tape and things like that because, I don't know. I'd want to keep it as pristine as possible, which again is why the space gray seems to make more sense. Well, let's. Is there anything else we want to talk about with the HomePod? Any other features we may have missed, or any cool things that we haven't discussed yet before we move? Oh, well, actually, I'd love to have the listeners. This isn't just a voice device. It does have some physical controls. You can tap it to play and pause. You can double tap it to go to the next track, triple tap to go back, da 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 da. You can check out Apple's website or any of our articles for more on that. But I don't know. I'm trying to think. I have a Bose speaker that I right now use as the main sort of output device into my home, and I have to walk up to it like an animal to turn up the volume on it. But with this, it's going to respond to your voice. Do you foresee yourself doing the, hey, Bobby,
hey, Dingus,
hey, Dingus, turn up the volume from across the room? Or do you think you'll still sort of, well, I guess if you have your phone with you, you could just do it there, couldn't you?
Yeah, well, that's one of the things that I'm worried is not the right word, but they have this system where Siri votes. So basically you have a bunch of devices that are all Hey Siri capable, and then it Hey Dingus capable. I didn't call you. That are all Hey Dingus capable, and then when it hears you, it tries to do this voting system, like what's the last one you touch, which is the most proximate one, which is the most personal one, which is the one that's best able to do this task, and then it tries to figure out which one should answer, and maybe like 8 times out of 10 it gets it right, and the other time is like I'm looking at a phone, I say something, and a phone like across the room starts doing it. I'm like, no, I haven't touched you in a day.
I haven't touched my night phone in a day.
I know. This is terrible. No, or like I'm raising my arm while I'm driving just to like scratch my head or something, and I say, yo Jimbo, call Serenity Caldwell. I'm telling my watch is calling her because that makes sense because they felt me move it because I'm scratching my hair. So there's a lot that I want to see how that works. But as far as like the functionality, this is far-field Siri, and it's got a bunch of really clever beamforming mics, the way that Echo and Home have. And you can sit there and music can be playing, and I can just say, yo, Dingus, lower the volume. And even if you couldn't hear me next to you, yo, Dingus can. Or yo, Jimbo, I think I'm going to settle on yo, Jimbo, because things. And that I think is really cool. And I just think is a really natural way of communicating.
Yeah.
And plus hashtag lazy.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's one of those things that we're sort of getting used to more and more. And it just becomes more normal to say, yo Jimbo, do this for me, please. We should probably move on to talk about iOS, but before we do, I would like to tell you about our dear friends at Thrifter. So, as I mentioned before, Thrifter, of course, is a new way to save money on everything from gadgets to home goods by shopping based on value and not hype. That's the big thing. It's not all those stupid fake sales out there where something is $10, but it actually costs the company like 2 cents to make, and it never should have even cost $10 in the first place, but that's a sale. No. This is about value, not hype. If you go to thrifter.com and sign up, you are going to get thoughtfully selected deals from places like Amazon and Best Buy. It's all the stuff with none of the fluff. And right now on Thrifter, we've got a extra 25% off for items at H&M. Again, like this is not just tech stuff, despite the fact that it's here on this tech podcast. This is stuff across the spectrum. So they have this really nice looking person like wearing a suit, and I sort of want this suit. It looks really nice, and I could get an extra 25% off right now. There are some other deals. Lori, why don't you head to thrifter.com and point out a deal that you are considering, and then remember that you got to buy 2 HomePods, so you're not actually going to pay for whatever this is.
It's so true. Let's see. Okay, good. My computer is allowing me to load right now.
Oh my God.
Oh, that Poe Dameron's helmet looks pretty
Yes.
good, but that's the nerd in me wanting that.
I would podcast in that right now.
I will tell you, I have tried on some of those when I find them in the store, and they don't fit my.
Aw.
Aw.
I would. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I might go for this mini espresso maker called Mini Presso for $37, just so that I can make myself a cuppa while I'm sitting around real quick.
Some cheeky Nando's and a cup of espresso.
Yes.
How about a chip bati or a jammy dodger?
A jammy dodger. There's one more thing on the list. I didn't know that I needed an electric egg cooker, but apparently those are a thing, and like I could make a bunch of hard-boiled eggs at once. That's kind of cool.
Did you see what was next to it, Micah?
Yeah, Harry Potter
for $50. That's like more than half off.
That's on iTunes too. So if you have an Apple TV or you have an a big iTunes library, you can get that all the films, all of them for $50. It's normally $120. So anyway, head on over to thrifter.com, sign up. Again, you're going to get all the stuff and none of the fluff from places like Amazon, Best Buy, and apparently H&M, and loads more. Thank you so much to Thrifter for sponsoring our show.
You think Dan DeSilva knows that I took his credit card?
Yes, because it's one of those things where you let somebody have something for free at the beginning and then they get it hooked on it and then they keep going. So we should talk about iOS 11.3. Interestingly, Apple put out a blog post talking about the new Animoji characters. I see Renee is fumbling with his phone. Perhaps there's going to be... I very quickly sent every single one of the new ones to my partner so that I could annoy him with the skull and then wow him with the dragon and the lion. They're so fun. And of course, like that's the reason.
Mufasa is an emoji. Yes.
That's
cool.
so cute.
Oh, so cool. That's the reason people are going to be updating, right, Renee? But I mean, there are other things involved with iOS 11.3, but who cares?
I feel like we should emphasize that there is the lion, the dragon, the bear, and the skull.
The skull. I have a skull on here.
Did you send Shane a skull? I mean, that's the worst.
I did because it was. Let's see if I'll find it here, and then I will.
Did you say Avast, ye scurvy dogs? Here.
Oh, are we going to play? I don't think we are.
Oh,
what's going on?
Come on, buddy.
Oh, there we go. I lost the play button. It's not working.
It knows.
Yeah, it's not. I think it's because it was so far back that it's probably up in iCloud by now. Because yes, I turned on that feature. But anyway, it says, "Have you ever seen a skull smile? It's really creepy. It even like chills my bones or whatever." They're a lot of fun, and anybody who has an iPhone 10 will be able to use those, right? But no one else.
So great. The other thing that was like ARKit is being updated. So previously ARKit was great at detecting floors. It could do planar detection, it could put objects on it, it could scale them, it could do all this stuff, but it did not hit a wall when it came to walls. It had no idea that walls were there. So now Apple has added wall detection, irregular surface detection, which means like if it's just like a tree or something that has a shape that's not perfectly flat, and also 50% better resolution and autofocus. And Russell Hawley, who is on the show last week, who is like the supreme nerd of supreme nerds when it comes to stuff, was hella excited. I think we'll see some great new applications because once you can tell a full 3D boundaries, you can start putting objects not just on floors, but all over the place.
Yeah, I was going to say, can you, if you have any more sort of information on that, I would be fascinated. Like, how does this translate into real world examples? Like, what does this change from version 1 to?
So previously you could do floors and you could do faces. You could do things like dropping an IKEA stool or testing out some lipstick. Now you could, for example, hang a virtual painting or put a virtual door that you could walk through into an imaginary library. Or you could start putting little birds playing in a tree that would actually look like they were on the tree and not just, oh, poor dead bird is halfway caught through tree. Ooh, awkward. Or that bird is just hanging on a branch that don't exist. I can tell you're a fake bird. So it lets you do more objects in a more 3D, more realistic space.
That's really cool. I'm looking forward to seeing how developers take advantage of that. I'm sure that our friend of the show, James Thompson, is already improving his ARKit experience with pCalc. And there will be many more. In fact, I was just playing with a game that Russell suggested on the last episode. It's called Dark, with the AR capitalized. And it is one where you walk through this portal and then you're in your same space, but suddenly everything is sort of overlaid in this very Stranger Things-esque feeling. Now, if it had wall detection, I'm sure it'd be a lot better than it was, because with the way that it's set up, like there were crates that were supposed to be on the ground, but instead they were floating in the middle of the space. And as I walked through and walked back from the portal shifted. So it will be nice to see, as this improves, ARKit get even better, and some of the things that we're going to be able to do with it because of that.
So great. So great. My virtual R2 can climb up walls.
Lori, have you either played with any of the new Animoji or checked out some of the changes that are coming with ARKit?
Not yet. I've downloaded it on my iPhone SE instead of onto my iPhone 10, because my iPhone 10 is my daily driver right now. And though it sounds like the update is pretty solid, I never want to risk that. So it's on my SE right now. So there's some things that I won't have access to on that particular phone. I am actually excited about iMessage syncing. Now, it showed up in a beta once and then went away. So it's not something that we can say for sure is coming, but it seems like it's coming. And I'm pretty excited about being able to sync my iMessages. Part of it is that I'd like to be able to get them off my phone. And if I can sync them in iCloud, I can keep them. I can have them
forever,
but not have to always have them on my phone. I'm very excited about that.
I did the opposite. I don't know if you guys saw, but there was a story about Google trying to figure out why there was such a huge, massive data spike in India. And it turned out that because as India was getting better connected to more data and more people were getting smartphones, they were all sending each other massive amounts of images for good morning, good morning, good morning, like funny GIFs and GIF-ifs and other stuff. And I realized that's what my family does. Every morning I wake up and there's 9 Bitmoji from my mom and 3 pictures from my sister. And I'm like, you guys are the reason why Google is struggling in India. And they're like, no, because we don't live in idiots. And I'm like, fair enough. But it takes up so much space. And I just started going through and deleting the threads. It was just the fastest way I could to delete the images and sort of clean out the experience. And I don't really need to save this stuff. I guess you could use that Ecamm phone view software if you want to dump all of them out. But I'm just super excited that if I delete them on one device, they're gone on their other ones now too.
Yeah, it's a little spooky. I am also worried about that as well.
If it stays in because it's been in betas before and it's been removed, so I'll believe it when it ships.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say for sure it's coming, because we thought for sure it was coming before and it didn't. So I'm pretty sure though.
You know how that made me feel whenever we thought it was coming and then it didn't?
Like what?
Are you using Kafasis' new toy? Did you just roll amoeba me?
I did. There's a new app and it's so much fun. And I love to tell jokes. I'm sorry. I do love this app. So I'm not 100%. I think it's pronounced Farrago. It's Farrago from Rogue Amoeba, and it is a soundboard app. It lets you load up sounds if you want to, or you can use the built-in sounds that it comes with. And so there are things there's if I wanted to add a nice pattering of rain behind us, and we wanted to go for an NPR feel as we're talking, then I could do that. But it has these. Oh, I have to stop that. It has these built-in loops that you get automatically. You can load up your own, and you can use those for for recording. Now, if you are a podcaster and you're listening to this and you want to use it, you can't just stop at having Farrago, because you need some way to pipe that audio into the output that you're putting into the
Got to inject your Farrago.
So you use Farrago with oh goodness, what's their other app? Now I'm forgetting.
Audio Hijack.
Audio Hijack.
Not Audio Hijack. That won't work.
Oh.
You need
Vision?
Loopback. Loopback is the name of the app. So what Loopback does is it lets you create virtual audio devices. And so right now with Loopback, I've created a virtual audio device that has both my microphone and the Farrago app built into it. And so then I use that to pipe into different things and pipe out of others. So anyway, a quick shout out to them, because I do love this app, and I plan to not use it too much on this show, but certainly plan to use it on another show that I do just for fun. So that is Farrago. Say that again.
Is that your new soundboard podcast you haven't announced yet?
Yeah. Exactly. Yep.
Just
Next on
nothing but
Soundboard.
I have a question for you guys, because I'm pretty sure this is not going to come to Canada for a while. Actually, two things. One is iMessage for Business, and the other is what I think is hella cool is health records.
Okay, I'm so glad you're talking about this. Go ahead, but then I do have it's actually a complaint instead of an excitement, and I'll explain why.
Which one do you want to do first?
Let me just complain, and then we can talk about how cool it is. So here's my complaint. It used to be that you could go online. I would go on to my medical records, and both the doctor that I used to work with and the doctor that I have now, they're separate systems, but they both offered these. They're a certain kind of data file that is standardized across the board. You can download that and you can email it to yourself and open it in the Home app, and it puts your records into the Home app. Now, they didn't look as fancy and cool as they do in this new system, but with this new system, you can only get those health records if you have a health record system that is partnered with this new health records getup. If that makes any sense. Basically, where it used to be that you could sort of do it yourself and you could pop in any raw data files from these different systems, now you have to log into the ones that are part of this portal and then get them from there. My health services, neither of them are part of Apple's sort of launch group. And so I'm a little disappointed, because I'll at the very least have to wait until these healthcare organizations hop on board. And the thing about health is that they're super slow about everything. So I'm a little worried that I won't get to get it. However, we should talk about how cool it is, because it's pretty cool.
It is totally the coolest. So, I mean, and I don't understand it. So, Lori, I don't know if this is something that you're familiar with, but basically you'll be able to go into the health app and just if your provider supports it, access all your medical. I've never accessed my medical records. I don't know if I really want to, because I always figure they're writing down things behind my back about my back. Worst back. Don't tell them how bad his back is. So, but I think this will be helpful to a lot of people.
Yes. Okay. I'm not, I care a little, but not for any particular reason. I don't go to the doctor all that often, and I don't usually need to access that kind of information for myself. I don't switch a lot either. But this is going to be a really great addition for a lot of people that do use it. My mom, for example, and her mother-in-law, this will be a really great addition for her to be able to access that kind of information right on her phone. Hopefully her insurance will, or her medical organization will participate in it too, because it is a really great idea. Hopefully Canada will get it.
Canada.
Oh, Canada. So yeah, again, I personally am not super excited about it, because I don't see myself needing to use it that much, but I can see this as being a really great service for people who do need access to their medical records and can just get it without having to call anyone or jump through any hoops or try to figure out where to go or who to talk to. It's a really great feature that they will hopefully have soon, and it will hopefully roll out across Micah's medical organization soon.
Yeah, and there's some good news about that. One of so a lot of times hospitals and hospital groups and healthcare groups will partner up with a company that sort of handles the electronic medical records. And the bigger company that handles both of my doctor's healthcare records is already partnered with Apple, but only certain offices in the surrounding area, certain organizations like in Kansas City and surrounding area are partnered up. So my hope is, and my thought is that, you know, once iOS 11.3 is out there and it's actually shipped, then more people will sort of turn on that functionality. Because when I try to log into one from another system, it lets me log in. It's just like, we don't have your records because you're not in North Kansas City. It's like, okay, well, I can be patient. I personally, I go see my doctor every 3 months. I've talked openly about this on podcasts before. I was diagnosed with adult attention deficit disorder not too terribly long ago. And so that's one thing where you go back and get checkups to make sure that, you know, the therapies and things like that you're doing are working. And recently have been inundated with some heart health scares. And so both of those have resulted in me needing to keep good track of my health records and sort of know where I'm at and what the last round of tests revealed and that kind of thing. And so I'm always checking up on my health records. And right now I just use the apps that are provided by the different health organizations of which I'm a part, but I would love to have that all back in the health app. So I was sort of sad that they kicked out the sort of do your own like DIY version of it for this new partnership. But again, I'm sure that mine will come along soon.
Here's what Jeff Williams said. Our goal is to help consumers live a better day. We've worked closely with the health community to create an experience everyone has wanted for years, to view medical records easily and securely right on your iPhone. By empowering customers like Micah Sargent to see their overall health, we will hope to help consumers better understand their health and help them lead healthier lives.
Excellent.
So what about the iMessage business chat? Because that was like, I looked at that and I'm like, do I really want Lowe's up in my iMessage?
See, this is the good thing about that. And it looks like, Lori, you were about to say something. Why don't you?
I was actually going to ask a little bit about it. I don't think it's going to be quite like Lowe's being up in your iMessage chat. I believe that it's more dedicated to like sharing within the business. So, Micah, do you know some more details about what exactly iMessage Business is?
Yeah, so this is the cool thing about it. Business Chat lets you connect to certain businesses and to get it off the ground running. It's like Discover, Hilton, Lowe's, and Wells Fargo. But what it does that some other services don't do is you connect without actually sharing contact information. So your phone number doesn't have to get exchanged. You don't have to go over email, that kind of thing. This is all within this sort of built-in and specialized chat. And it allows you to use things like Apple Pay. You know, if you wanted to, say you knew a little bit about smart home tech, but you weren't sure, you could contact Lowe's and say, hey, I'm working on a home renovation project. I'd like to put some lights in that my son told me I should ask if they work with HomeKit. Can you help me with that? Then the person on the other end of the business chat could say, yeah, these. And it's like, okay, I'd like to go get those later today. And then you can say, you know, this is my location or whatever, and it'll show you the nearest Lowe's store. Then you can say, all right, I'd like to buy that. And then Apple Pay is right there in the app. You can go ahead and pay for that. So it's a very nice sort of integrated way to communicate with a business that doesn't involve sort of, again, having to share a bunch of personal information and things like that. It's all sort of through this interface. I like the idea, especially with things like credit cards or debit cards or things like that. You can imagine like you've gone on vacation and you forgot to call your bank and say, hey, I'm on vacation. This is a great way to contact Wells Fargo and say, hey, I'm trying to buy this really good whiskey sour and you just declined my card because I'm in Texas instead of California where I live. Can we fix this? And then they probably go through, you know, the authorization process and get your card turned back on so you can drink your whiskey sour. So I think this is a really neat thing. And in fact, in the article, that's what the last point on here is. Business Chat doesn't share the user's contact information with businesses and gives users the ability to stop chatting at any time. So it's the good thing about this is that when more businesses sign on, you don't have to go to a bunch of different sites looking for either contact phone numbers or contact emails or contact chat rooms. I could, in theory, I don't know if AT&T would partner, but like I could talk to AT&T right from my phone using this business chat feature. So pretty neat, I think.
Yeah, I like the idea too. I don't know, it makes me feel old.
Yeah, I wonder if, is it going to just turn into a big advertising spot for organizations? Will they take advantage of something that's supposed to be
it, right? Is that how?
Sure. But once you initiate it, will you just get like a text message from, or a message from Lowe's every week saying, "Hey, don't forget to stop by our store"?
They don't have your contact information.
They don't get your contact information. And as soon as you cancel out of the business chat, it's over. You get to leave at any time. They can't reach back out to you. So I think that's like, Apple has looked at ways to mitigate it. And I'm sure, although, we don't know right now, my guess is that there are probably also rules for anybody. Like, there's a reason that there are only these businesses to start. Apple probably has some rules on like what you can do as a business rep inside of these apps. So probably even be like a report feature where you could say, no, this person is trying to get me to buy the $1,000 gold HDMI cords instead of the, I don't know how that.
The last thing that I thought was super interesting here was that what Tim Cook talked about previously, what Apple talked about previously, was they're going to give you the battery health insight. They're going to give you servicing information, but they're also going to let you turn off throttling if you don't care about your phone shutting down at random part. I don't know if this is a good idea, because I love people, but I don't know if everyone is going to have an informed decision. And I don't think all of them, like, I just know somebody's going to hit that button, and then when they need to make an emergency call, their phone's going to be shut down. They'll be like, I don't know what to do now.
Renee, why? This is just like, is this Apple saying, okay, we tried to tell you, so you're just going to have to see for yourself? Or is this Apple trying to make amends? And like, I don't want people who I help with their tech stuff to have this power.
I know. Well, I think like originally, so my wish was always, and only because I think Apple did the right thing. I think that they understood that there was this problem, and the best way to handle it was the advanced battery management. But people aren't going to understand that. And also it created this problem where if your iPhone shuts down or drains fast, you might think battery and you'll take it and get the battery serviced. But if it's slow, you probably won't think battery. So they didn't properly explain it so that people would actually understand it. And that led to a lot of confusion and problems. And I think what could have happened, even though this is a worse way of implementing it, I think it is better for people if they'd let the phone shut down once, and then when you boot it back up, it would say your phone shut down unexpectedly. Would you like to prevent this from happening again? Note it'll cause a slight performance problem. It'll downgrade performance, and then people can make an informed decision, and they'd understand the pain, because nobody wants anything when they're not feeling pain. It's when you're feeling pain that you want relief. And out of that, absent that context, I think people won't make informed decisions about it.
Yeah, I think I've mentioned multiple times that had Apple announced this as a great new feature for older iPhones, everyone would have been happy with it and not had a problem with it and not made accusations that Apple is purposefully slowing down your phone. They would have been happy to have the feature. And similar to what you're saying, Renee, that although you and I have a different way that we think it should have gone about, we're both agreeing that had it been presented to us as a great new feature and not just slipped under the rug, everyone would be really excited about this. But we're here and now, and this is how they're dealing with it. And here's what I think. There's going to be, a few hundred tech nerds who are going to shut it off and talk about how great it is that they have this kind of...
I know better.
Yes. And then no one else is even going to know about it, and they're not going to have a problem with it. Micah, your family members are not going to turn it off and then call you asking why their phone just shut down. They're not even going to know. They're not going to pay attention.
That's
what I think is going to happen.
Yeah, my dog's going to be complaining a lot.
The tech people of the world are going to, eat it up, and they're going to write about it, and they're going to say that Apple is
off and on, and look how much. But yeah,
that's all of that
point.
stuff.
That's a really good point.
But this is such a deep down in the trenches kind of technology that the average person is just probably not going to care or know. If one of my friends calls me up and says, my phone is running so slow, I will probably mention to them, it might have to do with this feature that's in your phone now. There is a switch that you could turn it off, but I don't recommend it. Like there's options now that I can present to people when they tell me that their phone is running slow. But other than that, I just think this is going to be the way this will get swept under the rug, and not in a bad way, but in a let's stop talking about battery gate, because it's really not that big of an issue. So this will be the thing that satisfies the tech people who are upset about it, and also the thing that everyone will forget about within the next 2 months.
Yeah, I think you may be correct.
Apple should add a sound effect where if you turn it off, it goes womp womp. Like,
wait, do you mean like? Oh God, I love this app. Anything else to talk about with 11.3 before we move on to talk about something interesting and maybe a little bit sad?
No, I mean, the last thing that I'm excited about is they're finally pushing out the software version of HomeKit authentication. So previously, you'd have to get, like, if you had an early edition bridge and it didn't have secure Wi-Fi, Apple insisted on secure Wi-Fi, so people couldn't hacksaw your house, for example. But some companies were hesitant and it was expensive and you had to get the right chipsets. And this will handle a sort of secure HomeKit stuff through software so that people can update their existing devices instead of having to buy new devices. And then, that's all. I think I'm still going to lean towards getting hardware because I like to, in my primitive brain, hardware feels better than software for security. But in a meltdown Spectre world, what do I know anymore? But still, I like that we have this as an option.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yay. Well, let's go ahead and move on to talk about, last but not least, the removal, the death, the disappearance of macOS server. I completely missed the fact that it was gone, and also
it's not gone. So it's a metaphysical death. Maybe, I don't know. So what's happening is Apple is releasing a new version of macOS server, but it's significantly different. Over the last while, they've been moving functionality out of server and into the mainline branch of macOS, which is great because there are features there, like, for example, that will let you download updates for all your devices in the background and then do them at your own, you won't have to do each one individually, and just a whole bunch of really cool management stuff. And they moved that into macOS for everybody because they thought those features are so great, everyone should have them. And what they're doing now is that they are they're getting rid of is the wrong word. They're going to hide first all the open source services like calendar and card services and web services and things like that. And eventually they're going to remove them. So right now they're gone from the GUI. Soon they're going to be gone from the command line too. And if you want them, you're going to have to go to the actual makers of that open source project and get them. And Apple is saying that they're doing this because they don't want to be a bottleneck anymore. They don't want to have to go to the repository, take the service, package it up, make it available in macOS server. Because they're always behind when they do that. And they would rather you just go and get the latest, greatest, most secure version from the people who actually make and maintain it and then use it that way. But there are a significant amount of people, well, I don't know how significant it is. There's a large contingent of people on Twitter who don't like that. They like the idea of everything being instantly available to them in macOS server, right built into the interface. And that's a totally fair point. But what Apple wants to do is move macOS server into device management, for example, iPad in the classroom, and storage management. For example, if you have an XSAN network at your production company. And some people are like, that's nothing. That's BS. There's nothing left for us then. Other people are like, well, I don't need you for that. And other people are like, no, whatever. So it's, and I think Apple, their technical support document on this was really terse, and that didn't help because it made people feel like it was sort of doomy and gloomy. But so macOS server isn't gone. The reason a lot of people used it is now you no longer need server to use. And another big part of the reason people used it, they now have to do more maintenance on their own to get it. And neither of those things is making everybody happy.
I definitely don't have enough information about macOS server to have any kind of opinion whatsoever on this. I feel like we should get Anthony on on the podcast.
He's writing
to
about
talk
it for us now. He's gonna tell you where to go get all those open source software
Good.
packages if you're not familiar with them already.
Thank goodness.
Excellent. Because yeah, for me, it's like, oh, I'm sorry. You know, I hate that. You know, some people are upset about it, but yeah, it's. Phew.
Well, I think when Apple canceled Xserve and they haven't updated the Mac, like it doesn't seem like that's their area of focus now.
Right. Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. Like when there's a lot of sort of boys from the old club that are going to have to see a lot of these changes happen over time because, you know, Apple started as a company making the Mac computer. They started making computers and they've expanded so much, and now their focus needs to be on the things that are going to produce some more money. So these great features that they used to have 20 years ago, they're a burden on the process now for them. So it makes a lot of sense that they're just going to kind of shuffle some things around, get rid of some things, make things less difficult for them to control and take care of, and kind of free people up to do it themselves. Like, it all makes a lot of sense. And there are going to be older generations of people who really relied on that and are going to really feel the pain and feel like Apple is kind of turning their back on them or leaving them in the dust.
Speaking of which, Micah, do we have 2 seconds just for a quick roundtable?
Yes, we do. But before we get to that, we have a quick second for just this, a live reaction coming in. Someone at Gardner VH on Twitter said, I think you said this wouldn't work, but routing from Farrago and my PR40 using audio hijack to a recorder worked okay for me. Yes. It will allow you to record those sounds and play them back in a recording that you take afterward. The problem is if you want the people on the other end of the podcast to hear you, or rather to hear those sounds, then that's where you have to create a virtual device, because right now, those two are separate things. In an audio hijack, you can set them up as separate objects and send them to a recorder, but there's no way for Renee and Lori to hear those because they're not being piped through there. So that's where an app like Loopback comes into play. Okay, Roundtable.
So there, two of the areas that I think people are upset about with HomePod is you have the people who have large traditional music collections that they have ripped from CD or somehow have made their way into their collections. And they really want to be able to use HomePod the way that a traditional sort of iTunes Mac setup would have worked, where you can point it at your home folder and it'll just play stuff from that. As far as we know, it'll do iCloud Music Library. So if it's matched stuff, you'll be able to access it. But for some people, they really want to point it to their Mac as a server or their Windows machine as a server and have it play that music. And I understand that, totally understand it, because I am from the generation that ripped CDs. I have now gotten rid of all my CDs and I exclusively stream music because I think that's the future. But I understand the pain that it feels like when your method of doing things is left behind. And then conversely, we have this new generation of people who I think are all in on streaming, but not all of their streaming services of choice are Apple Music. Some of them, for example, love Spotify. And right now it only works with Apple Music. You can AirPlay to Spotify just like you can AirPlay from iTunes, your old music collection, but it's not optimized for those. I have a feeling Spotify will be added when SiriKit gets music provider support, but I don't think it's ever going to go back to the era where you had your primary collection on your iTunes library, and it sort of worked from there. So, at what point, for how long should Apple be expected to support what I'm going to call legacy, sort of like vinyl, sort of like the vinyl method? Like, how long should that be expected to support it, and how fast should they be expected to support all the new services?
First, let me say that vinyl had a resurgence, and it is now a huge method for listening to music, as did the tape, believe it or not.
I mean, bell bottoms came back.
I'm not. Sound.
So,
we lost Lori.
So, I don't think Apple. I'm just making sure that you guys are still hearing me okay.
You're back. Now we can, yes.
Perfect, great. I don't think that Apple is beholden to anyone ever under any circumstance. If you have, ripped all of your CDs, and then got rid of your CDs, then that's your fault for getting rid of your CDs. You should have kept them. Or if you want to be able to stream from iTunes. You don't want to have to pay for a service. Then the HomePod is not for you. Although, to be honest, it kind of is, because you can use it in an AirPlay capacity, so you actually can stream your iTunes music to it. I think that as Apple moves forward as a technology company, we have to learn to adapt. We can't force that company to, any company to make accommodations for those of us that are kind of holding on to this older way of doing things.
And we won't be able to force those companies. Like, they're going to keep, it's only just going to result in you being upset.
Right. So we have to understand, like, if HomePod is Apple Music and nothing else, don't buy it if you don't subscribe to Apple Music and and want something that you can use Siri to call on to play your tunes. It's not for you. But if you subscribe to Apple Music, if you don't mind AirPlaying to HomePod from your Mac or your iPhone, these are all options that you can use if you want to listen to CDs that you ripped or music that you somehow don't have in Apple Music. I mean, I can say from experience with Apple Music, there is so much music that I listen to, some eclectic old, hardcore punk from Sweden, and I can find that on Apple
South
Music.
African rap.
It's amazing how thick the catalog is. And if you want to listen to music that isn't available on Apple Music, and therefore Siri can play for you through HomePod, break out your vinyl, listen to it on something analog. I think that we need to learn to adapt to the future instead of trying to force these technology companies to stay in the past with us.
Yeah. The big thing for me, Renee, when I think about how I listen to things right now and how I plan on using the HomePod, one of the main things I'm going to use it for is listening to podcasts. That's what I listen to music. I listen to podcasts, and there's maybe Apple Podcasts works with it, but I don't use that as my podcast app. I use Pocket Casts. And so I will be AirPlaying from that. Right now, like, people who use Bluetooth speakers or anything like that, this is going to work similarly. You already have to control the device from a separate device if you're just Bluetoothing to it. So there's no big change for me in the fact that this thing can't built-in, offer all of these different services. That's I guess an issue that I'm willing to deal with, because I already use Apple Music. I actually use both Apple Music and Spotify because I'm a weird person who doesn't make any sense at all. And I'm privileged. But like, I understand absolutely, people who do have these concerns with it, and it makes perfect sense. All I can do is talk about my experience. And for me, I'm constantly with this thing either in my hand or in my pocket or near me, controlling what I'm listening to from it. Even with Apple TV, like, a lot of times I'll just use the remote app instead of using the Siri remotes. Yeah. It just is what I do. So it's not going to be a big deal. And if Apple chooses to add stuff later, that's cool. But, we just quickly and briefly, like, the main thing that I'm seeing, originally, I thought this was going to be my HomeKit dealie. And we've learned that that's really not what it is. And so now for me, this is like my first chance at having a really friggin' good speaker system in my house, and it all comes in one little device. I've been reading about how some of the things that it does are, like, the closest comparisons are like $50,000 speakers and ridiculous prices. So this is going to be exciting just to hear sort of what it outputs and how that changes the different songs that I listen to. I'm really looking forward to that.
And then I have to figure out how to play vinyl.
Well, couldn't you get an an Airport Express? Oh no, because someone's going to come out with an app or a device to do that. Yeah,
we'll figure it out. Lori will figure it out.
There'll be an AirPlay vinyl system eventually.
So you could just tell Siri to, like, play the record, turn on my turntable.
Let me buy HomePodVinyl.com.
Get those Earth, Wind, and Fires records ready.
Speaking of, like, I've got two vinyls right here.
Oh, you got two? That's cute.
I'm going to start doing record on vinyl. Maybe a whole thing.
There you go. The Postal Service and Purity Ring are the two that I have there.
Nice. Someday I will show you my record collection. It's in the other room, but it takes up 2 walls. And maybe I won't show you because a true record collector might see some of the stuff I have and want it.
Let's find that.
Do you have the Pontiac Bandits, Billy Joel?
No, nothing by Billy Joel. I know that that's a good record, but I don't know anything by Billy Joel. Sorry.
She actually has the presidential reading of the Constitution of the United States of America recorded on vinyl. I don't even know how that works. Like, it was made with somebody's wooden teeth.
With the Rockets' red glare.
Yeah, the original recording of the national anthem.
And the golden recording that went to outer space in case we meet up with aliens.
There you go. Yeah, well, I think that just about covers it. Am I right?
Sure.
All right. Well, all that's left is to, of course, thank everybody for tuning in. And hey, Renee, if people are looking for you online and wanted to check out all the cool new stuff you're doing, where can they find you?
They can find me on Twitter at Renee. Just Renee Ritchie. I don't need a dot. I don't need an underscore. Just plain old Renee Ritchie on Twitter.
Oh, got Georgia. What up?
You can find my column on iMore, imore.com/vector. My podcast is vector.show because I went for one of those awesome Micah Sargent URLs. And my YouTube channel is coming soon, but it's got an ugly URL right now, so I'll just put the link in the show notes.
Excellent. And Lori Gill, if people are looking for you online, where can they find you?
Well, they might be able to find me at homepodkoozie.com because I did just buy it.
Yes!
Depending on your local colloquialisms, it's koozie or cozy. I grew up with koozie, so we'll see. Spelled C-O-Z-Y.
I say koozie as well.
Koozie, and that was a whole different thing, but we'll see.
Or you can find me at
HomePod
Appaholic on Twitter, APPAHOLIK, and Lori Gill at most of the other social things. And writing about HomePod on iMore and staying up late tonight to hopefully buy my new HomePod.
Me too. If you are looking for me online, you can find links to all the things I do, the podcasts, the social media networks, etc., at chihuahua.coffee. That's CHIHUAHUA.coffee. And a little shout out to Georgia Dow. A million years ago, I bought the URL homepodanxiety.com. And that reroutes to Georgia's anxiety-videos.com, where you can get help with anxiety, panic attacks, OCD, PTSD, phobias, boundary issues, and so much more. So homepodanxiety.com reroutes to that.
So if you have anxiety about whether or not HomePod is going to work in your home, or
if you're going to be able to get one on launch day, check out homepodanxiety.com. I want to thank all of you for listening. For those of you who tuned in live, thanks so much for being here. For the person who reached out on Twitter during the live show, that was pretty awesome. If you have a live Q&A, hit us up. I, of course, want to thank Jim Metzendorf for editing this show, Vector, and so many other podcasts across the internet. He is a mastermind. We will, of course, be back next week with lots more fun, love, fancy-free goodness, and possibly some more HomePod thoughts. Thank you for being the best audience on the entire interwebs. You can find all the stuff we do at imore.com. Have a great week, and goodbye.
bye.
Bye.